What's going on, good people of the internet? It is time for OnComicsGrounds.com's flagship podcast, Panel to Panel, where a bunch of folks shoot the breeze and talk about comic books and such. We are here live for issue 12 of this amazing show, where we talk about all of the newest comic book and nerd culture news going on in the world. And we are here to talk about it here. Yes, here. Hi. My name is James Portis. I am here with my co-host to my left. We have the hard-working man who is somehow doesn't have heat stroke. Travis, how you doing tonight?
Thinking I may have gotten heat stroke already.
No, don't say that.
It's par for the course out here. I just gotta, get out of here.
All right. And to my right, the woman who forgot about the crossover of the century that we are going to talk about tonight. Mary, how you doing tonight?
Shut up. I'm fine, but shut up.
And we will get into what I am referring to here in a bit, but don't forget to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at OnComicsGround. Don't forget to follow the podcast at PTP_podcast. And if you are still using Facebook, I know some people are, don't forget to like the website's Facebook page at OnComicsGround. So let's get into the nitty gritty of it. So I think we mentioned this briefly before, but it was revealed at it's rumored but apparently confirmed now that Cress Williams will be making an appearance in Crisis on Infinite Earths. This big event going on with CW later this year, this giant crossover that was hinted at in the last crossover. We've already got pictures of the Anti-Monitor. We know that big things are coming. We know Burt Ward is making a cameo. We know Brandon Routh is coming back as Superman. We have all these things that are happening for this giant crossover TV extravaganza where Stephen Amell is probably going to die. Thank God. But there was the news reveal that Cress Williams, aka Black Lightning, will be appearing in this crossover. And some are saying it might be due to fan response. I don't know. I don't know how to feel about this because I don't remember if we talked about this on the last couple episodes or not. But I have been frustrated by the thrusting into the back of the bus, as it were. And I am going to use that metaphor very quite literal when it comes to Black Lightning on the CW, because he's been excluded from the past two crossovers ever since his premiere. He hasn't been able to really interact with anyone. We've had hints of Supergirl possibly being in his universe because of Thunder talking to Grace.
There've been a couple of different name drops.
Yeah, and while I agree with the argument that I know Mary is going to have, of Black Lightning is so off in its own corner, I feel as if CW has thrusted him so far into the back of the bus that he is separated from the CW. And it's frustrating because so many people say he's not even part of the Arrowverse, and I'm just like, ugh. It's frustrating. How y'all feel about this?
Honestly, I kind of feel the same way. Because, as I haven't watched much of the Arrowverse, but as far as I know, the only doses of color we're getting are in Vixen, who, to my knowledge, is gone now.
I believe so, yes.
Sort of.
Oh, why am I forgetting Jefferson? Yes, the half of Firestorm. Why did I brain fart Firestorm?
All of Firestorm, because the other guy retired and the other guy's gone. So.
Oh, really? So that was just one part to... Okay. See, I've been out of touch with the CW, but... and then other than that, we got, Diggle, who's Spartan, and
There's rumors that he might make an appearance as Green Lantern because of the last Crisis, and I'm just like...
Yeah, and I don't know, man. It feels like they're making all this effort to bring in non-permanent black characters while they didn't even really mention Cress until there was a backlash.
Yeah. And I think where my frustration began was when the Entertainment Weekly article came out, like teasing the new seasons of Arrow, Batwoman, well, Batwoman's premiere, Flash, and Supergirl, and it was just those four, and that, like, it was plastered as like the Arrowverse, and I'm just like, I think y'all are forgetting somebody, like about yay tall, like super black in like a big old black and blue electric suit. Like, you're forgetting somebody here. Like, I know there's the issues going on, but I like with the show's development, but I still feel like there's a problem going on here.
Yeah, for sure. And to go to the point of to almost feel like blatantly excluding their flagship black character, it definitely ruffled a lot of feathers, to say the very least. Because don't get me wrong, I like Jefferson. I don't know if he's still in the show because I stopped watching for completely separate reasons. But how long does Jefferson really have left in this Arrowverse? You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true.
Considering half of him retired. I mean, we've seen people come in and out of this Arrowverse a few times. So it's, I don't know. I'm skeptical on the move. I'm happy that they're doing it, but I'm gonna be like looking for a hawk in Crisis on Infinite Earths if they're gonna be giving him like some shoved in, not fitting lines. You know what I mean?
Mary.
Well, the argument that I'm making is not necessarily the one you attributed to me earlier.
I'm sorry. I thought that was the argument.
No, you're fine. No, the point that I've tried to make in the past is that keeping them separate seemed like an intentional decision at first, because I found just now an article from entertainment.com where the executive producer for Black Lightning addresses the separation.
Okay.
He basically says, he said, we are in our own world. We are not in the Arrowverse. We're not in the Supergirl universe. We are in the Black Lightning universe. If there's ever a crossover, Supergirl will come to Freeland or Green Arrow will come to Freeland.
Okay.
That's kind of what's leading me to believe that this was due to fan response, and there are issues with aforementioned executive producer.
Yeah.
But
and I mean, I remember when the Entertainment Weekly article came out, I posted it on Twitter, and everyone's biggest argument was it's not part of the Arrowverse, so it doesn't count as part of the CW superhero like crossovers. And okay,
same time, Supergirl's from a completely different network.
Exactly. It wasn't until, what was it, CBS was going to give up that CW was like, hey, just bring it over here, we got it,
that, both Warner Brothers and CBS own the CW. Moved Supergirl down the street, as it were.
Yeah, pretty much. And, the chat is making the argument of, okay, Jean's there on Supergirl, Cisco has been depowered, Jimmy Olsen's leaving, but he was never in any of the crossovers. And it's and also Jimmy Olsen's a race change to begin with, so that's kind of already a gray area of discussion. So it's frustrating entirely that all of the black people are being shoved out the door, and it goes into the argument that we're going to be talking about, ironically, next week on the premiere episode of Blurred Grounds, plug, that of how not only in mainstream television or in movies, but also in comics, that black characters are being shoved out the way, and it's really frustrating. I mean, I don't know. Now granted, I'm not mad that, because I agree with you that the tone of Black Lightning is very much different than the rest of the Arrowverse in general. So, I don't know. I'm trying to put this into words. While I'm excited to see Jefferson alongside everybody, I wish the Arrowverse was diverse enough that I didn't have to put my flag up for Jefferson to be in the crossover, if that makes sense.
I think my only opposition, and I am using that term very loosely here, CW has a very unfortunate problem of, I have jokingly referred to it before as arrow-splaining.
Ooh.
And we saw it in the first crossover, where Arrow kind of pulled Kara aside and says, hey, I need to be the one to be the leader, I need to be the one, blah, 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 even though you're a dude with a bow and she's a flying space alien. Like, objectively, who do you want on your side?
That's true.
Be afraid of the CW pulling their Arrow CW shtick of having Oliver try to give Jefferson a lesson in being a hero.
If that happens, I'm gonna just throw my TV across the room. Like, oh my god. Like, do you know how angry I would be at the idea of Oliver Queen trying to check Jefferson Pierce? Like, oh my god.
I think I'm cringing harder at the prospect of the CW verse having a Martha moment with Jeffersons.
Well, no, you keep saying Jefferson. Are you talking about Firestorm?
Firestorm and Jefferson Pierce.
Well, no, hold on, because the biggest that's another freaking argument that I had with freaking DC with the CW is that they didn't even use the real Firestorm in like the thing. They made up a new guy to be Firestorm because the black one in the comics, his name is Jason Roosh, and he's in the show for like 5 minutes as like a side piece or like trying to mentor Jax in school, and then they're like, no, this new guy Jax is Firestorm. I'm like, who are you? Who do you think you are? You're not the one who's been here. Like, this is supplanting another black character. Like, what is going on? So, no, that's why I was like, Jefferson, who the hell are you talking about?
It's more so a dig at their its seeming inability to come up with a unique black name that's not Jefferson.
Fair enough. Because, like Jack, like, really, Jax, really? That's what you come up with? Like, what is this, freaking Mortal Kombat? But I don't know.
Yeah.
We do not disrespect the good name of Mortal Kombat in this house.
I mean, especially after Mortal Kombat 11 basically created Wakanda with Jax, so, like, there's that.
That did happen.
It did happen, and it was the funniest thing ever, and it was an entire controversy, and it was hilarious.
It's canon.
It's canon.
That's the best part.
It's canon that Jax created Wakanda for black people and got rid of slavery. That's literally canon now. And I think it's the funniest thing. And there was all these people going, NetherRealm is promoting white genocide. Like, wait a minute, what?
Every time I hear those two buzzwords put together, I just feel this chill down my spine and all my hair stand up.
But Mary, if we do see not only Jefferson but Thunder and Lightning come along for this crossover, are you gonna want that perfect lesbian team up?
Oh, Catholic, like
you cut out a little bit there. All I heard was Catholic.
Catholic. Yes, I want to see Anissa and Batwoman just aggressively beat the shit out of people. I am here for that.
Like, those two together will be really freaking cool. Like, I know, like, now granted, I will say this, and I hope you don't hate me for this. I feel as if done incorrectly, it could end up being like the girl power moment in Endgame.
Oh.
I hope you don't hate me for saying that.
I thought, I don't know. I thought that what we've all started calling the A-Force charge, I thought it was a little out of place. Like, it was cool, but I thought it was kind of out of place with the rest of the scene.
Is that what we're calling it now? The A-Force charge?
Calling it's fitting.
I mean, it fits, yeah. I mean, like
needs more She-Hulk. That's all I'm gonna say is needs more She-Hulk.
It needs more She-Hulk and it needs more Monica Rambeau. Also, they are missing Nico, but Nico's like in her own little universe now.
I kind of like. Don't get me started on Runaways, James.
We're not there yet, James.
I don't necessarily think that we would get a moment framed that way because, and oh dear lord, I'm going to dive into a foxhole right now.
Oh gosh.
CTV has a bit more, has a good way to say this, has a better track record with putting women to the forefront than the MCU does.
That's fair. That's very fair.
And I'm talking like, like the DC TV. I'm not even trying to drag movies or anything into this. It's just if you compare the two apples to apples, they have a bit better record having women to the forefront. So if Supergirl, Sarah Lance, Batwoman, Thunder and Lightning, if they all kind of got together and just did a charge, it would be fairly par for the course because, we've seen at least half of these characters have these big moments.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, and the CW has, I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing sometimes, but yes, they have a titular hero, but they're very much ensemble casts.
That's a fair argument.
I'm rambling at this point,
No,
so...
you're not. Like, you are making a very valid point that, like, if we had to put the feet to the fire in regards to who's doing better with women, the CW versus the MCU, which is kind of sad that, like, we can go to the CW for it instead of the DCEU, because the DCEU is kind of failing besides Wonder Woman. Like, and Mara kind of, but, like, we don't talk about Amber Heard right now. Like,
Amber Heard.
Canceled.
We don't talk about Amber Heard right now.
Why is she canceled?
Because she beat up Johnny Depp apparently, but I'm not getting in the middle of that. Like apparently Johnny Depp had like a counter suit against her for abuse as well, but I'm not getting in the middle of that. That's not my fight. I'm staying as far away from that argument as possible. That's why I'm just saying, I'm not even saying she's canceled, Travis. I'm just saying I'm not touching it with a 50-foot pole. But so besides Mara and Wonder Woman, the DCEU has failed with women. Well, and I guess Mary and Darla count too. Yeah, they count too. Mary and Darla.
That is a point I am going to have to vehemently, absolutely 100% disagree with you on.
Ooh, okay. Let's go.
Well, first of all, I have 3 words: birds of prey.
Okay, that hasn't come yet. We're not there yet. We haven't reached Birds of Prey. I'm saying, like, what's been published as of right this second. Because I will definitely give Birds of Prey all the props if it walks out and just kicks the door down for female empowerment. Like, yes, all day. I'm just saying, except for 4 women compared to the slew of men we've gotten, like, the CW has kind of beaten its own movie franchise at doing women better.
Like, where is your evidence for that? Because, I mean, look at if you want to argue the quality of Suicide Squad, that's completely up to you. But you have Viola Davis.
Oh, yeah, I totally forgot Suicide Squad exists.
You have Amanda Waller, Harley Quinn, Katana, Enchantress. I mean, look at that cast and get back to me.
You got me there, because I totally forgot Suicide Squad existed. I need to rewatch that, because it's been a minute. Okay, so fair, but so yeah, okay. We'll have to so yeah, in terms of females, just women in general, like, DCEU might have actually beaten the MCU, because when you look at it, we have 1 woman solo movie, we have 1 in development that's way overdue, we have a couple of their women heroes being relegated to TV shows, i.e. Scarlet Witch and Monica Rambeau, who I don't know why she's in a freaking Scarlet Witch and Vision show. Someone needs to get in contact with me so I can fix that. And I'm just like, yeah, we're getting the Fantastic Four and quote unquote mutants, not X-Men, says Kevin Feige. But in regards to the CW, we have success upon success, and even DCU, from what I've been defeated on, success after success. So I think there's potential for a good team up. I just don't want it to be like a cliche moment, if that makes sense.
No, and I understand what you're getting at. I'm just saying the fact that the CW, DC TV, whatever we're getting at here, has had a stronger presence God, I'm just gonna get beat up. My woman card's gonna be taken away. Like,
No, we need to, I love that we're having a discussion right now. This is good shit. Like, let's go.
and if you know anything about me, you know my feelings about women in the MCU, about how I often feel they're just kind of relegated to sidekick. The fact that Ant-Man and the Wasp was the first time one of these female heroes was credited, and there had been a couple that had worked alongside or whatever.
Preach. Ooh, this is good. I'm liking this. I need to just sip on my coffee for a minute. This is good shit.
And I'm not saying that these are like these female characters in the MCU are bad characters. Honestly, I don't think that at all. I think these are great characters and I love them, but they usually end up taking a backseat or playing a supporting role.
All right, Travis, how you feel about that?
Yeah.
Honestly, I think we need a main role, like a serious main role, if that makes any sense.
For the MCU, or like, what are you getting at?
Both. Both. Everyone needs one, if that makes any sense. Like, and maybe I'm going way the hell off the rails here, but like, if you could give me, I don't know, maybe a show of Secret Six where we get something from Banshee, I think that would be an amazing woman empowerment moment, because there's an issue. If someone can quote me the number, I don't remember which one, but Banshee and Wonder Woman have a direct confrontation. Ooh. And Banshee straight up is just like, no, you don't know what it's like to struggle as a woman because you were on your own in an island. Get out of here. And then like screams her unconscious. It's pretty brutal. Ooh. Yeah. I would want something like that, but I'm a big fan of extremes. So,
see, my counter to that would be, Ian's gonna freak out in the chat for this. I want a Secret Six movie, because that way you did actually get like more like people. Like, not only do we need a better Vandal Savage than what the CW gave us, but his daughter being in the larger DC landscape is something that we needed for a long time. Scandal is amazing, and
apparently, and if my information / rumor / whatever are correct, is that his daughter in that episode of Legends, for all intents and purposes, is supposed to be Scandal. They just didn't like the name.
Ugh. I mean, to be fair, they didn't even give her the name in Young Justice, so I kind of get that.
I can understand that, Scandal Savage is a name that is, like, I believe the phrase is not TV ready. So, I mean, in some variation, I suppose I can sort of understand, but that would have brought some name recognition.
That's fair.
That's the other half of the extreme equation I really didn't even think of. I forgot how intense Scandal Savage is in her comics.
Yeah. And like, just Secret Six as an in general is like straight savage in general. So
oh my god, every confrontation with Bane she has, where she's like, "You're not my father. Can you please go away?" type of thing, and Bane, "I'm just trying to be a good guy." Like, no, you're creepy now. Go sit over there.
Dude, there was a weird period during like the pre-New 52 where Bane was trying to be everyone's dad, and it was really freaking weird.
Yeah, when he was recovering from Venom.
Yup. But no, I think what we're all getting out of here is I think that we don't want cliches, and we don't want black folks shoved to the back, and we don't want Stephen Amell to try to arrow-splain all over my man, because like I just like, and if he tries, I want Jeff to just knock him square out. Like, I'm tired of this. Like, not only have I put up with a crappy Green Arrow TV show, and yes, you can come at me, you can at me, I don't care. Arrow is garbage. You can come at me. I do not care. We have had this show being a pillar of comic book television for so long that there was, I forget, it was Variety or comicbook.com or somewhere. If I'm like, someone can tell me later. There was a website that tried to say that Arrow was the longest running superhero TV show, and my first thought was, Smallville wants to have a word with you. Like,
I remember, I don't remember what site posted it, but it was a very poorly worded headline because in the article they then clarified that it is the longest running comic book TV show currently on TV, which is a bizarre title. Oh, Smallville says hi, and I don't like to give Smallville credit for much.
Okay, sooner or later, you and I have a conversation about Smallville, like a full episode, like talking about how we feel about Smallville. But, but no, like it's just this show has been this casual, like explained version of DC Comics for so long that it's hurt mythos and hurt like public like opinion of a Green Arrow, and not only Green Arrow but other characters in the in DC Comics, that I'm sick of it. Not only is it poorly written at times, they ruin character arcs, they change characters, and it gets frustrating to the point that it's beyond even basic like tweaking for audiences. It goes overboard to casual explain to them, and it's frustrating. So like, there's even going to be another show that I'm going to recommend in the recommended session this week. I'm not even recommending a comic this week. I'm recommending a TV show that takes Arrow and eats it for breakfast. Like, that's how we about to do it right now. So, hopefully Jefferson Pierce can come in and whoop some ass and go home and have a season 3 that I really am excited for. And is that a fair way to end that?
Yeah, but I mean, at the same time, we also do recognize that a lot of people do like Arrow, and that it's an important show for a lot of people. So, I mean, these are just personal opinions. This is not us trying to, crap on anybody's,
Oh, most def. Like, I'm entitled to, like, if you enjoy the show, like, enjoy that. I'm only here sitting in my corner, like complaining, like, ugh, like Felicity is a Firestorm character. She's not in love with Oliver Queen. Like, I'll complain in my corner. Like, if you,
she's in love with Aisha Tyler, and I'm so here for that.
But no, like,
how or why? Next thing I know, Emily Bett Rickards and Aisha Tyler are dating, and I'm like, you know what? I am here for this.
Oh my gosh, but no, like, I am.
Google it. It's a thing.
It's a thing. But no, like, I will sit in my corner and bitch and moan. You can enjoy your show. That's why I've gotten to the point where people say they enjoy Arrow and Flash. I'm like, okay, I will give you Flash, because at least Flash tries to, like, it has gone to the extreme of trying to explain multiverse theory to people in a respectful way. Like, I may not like that John Wesley Shipp is Jake Eric, but at least I can respect what they're doing. Arrow just said, nah, screw everything, and it's frustrating. So, like, I respect people's opinion. I just disagree with it. But if you enjoy the show for all it's worth. But you can at me if you want to have an argument.
Well, I think the definitive fact that we all know is that Doom Patrol is better than all of them. So.
Preach!
Objectively better, empirically better,
like in every possible way. Like, I'm on I forget what episode I'm on. I'm like halfway through the season.
No, there is a scene where Flex Mentallo flexes the wrong muscle, and they all have orgasms.
And it's the greatest thing. Oh my lord. But no, we're gonna like end that there, and then we are going to move forward. For whatever reason, my dock isn't opening. It randomly is trying to sign me out of all my crap. But moving forward, I'm gonna let my man Travis take the floor for this one and talk about our next subject.
Okay, so before I start, did you guys read The Batman Who Laughs, this 7-issue Scott Snyder's and Jock miniseries?
Yes.
Oh my god. So, what'd you think?
I've gotten to the point where The Batman Who Laughs is getting to, like, and this is gonna sound corny, but The Batman Who Laughs has become Elsa from Frozen to me, where where he's become so overhyped, it's hard to read one of my favorite writers write him. Where the story is so good, but when I have to go to Friday Night Magic: The Gathering and people are like, "Hey, do you think they're gonna make a Batman Who Laughs movie?" No. Why? Because he's part of Dark Knight's Metal. He was created because of Dark Knight's Metal. Stop it. Like, that's why I think I'm frustrated with the character itself. But as a series, I love what Snyder is doing. I am worried as a whole what Snyder and Williamson and Tynion are doing, that with Justice League and the Batman Who Laughs and Batman / Superman World's Finest, all these dark multiverse things that keep coming up and coming back up and whatnot, that this mythos is going to get too big for its britches, that when it finally ends, no one's going to know where to go, if that makes sense. It's kind of how where we reached the end of like the pre-New 52, and like we got through Grant Morrison, we had a few years of good things like McDuffie and a couple other people coming in and writing the Justice League, but then the Justice League just kind of sucked for a while we had 1,000,001 events, and then it fell off, and then we had to reboot. I'm worried that DC's not going to know what to do with the universe once Snyder and his gang are done, and they're just going to reboot, if that makes sense.
That would hurt me if they rebooted this, to be completely honest with you. Hurt me deeply.
I mean, Mary, is that a fair criticism, like given the history?
I had to stop myself from saying, well, the DC universe is more than Batman, and like, who am I kidding?
See? You see?
The DC universe is Batman.
So Mary, did you read the miniseries, Mary?
Not read it.
Oh,
I didn't read it,
all right. Cool. It's my turn to butt heads with Mary. Let's go.
Oh, this will be great.
Travis, you should see my stack of unread books. Like, my wife has started to leave passive-aggressive notes on my desk, just kind of like read them or put them away.
All right, that's fair.
But no,
I guess
tell the world like about the Batman Who Laughs comic has been going on. Like, let's go into it with the assumption that they have read Dark Knight's Metal and they haven't really read Justice League. Kind of like why don't you go from that angle?
Okay, well, from there, I mean, for up until now, in my opinion, the Batman Who Laughs has been a very enigmatic character. Like his goals are very clear, but why he does them is we don't know. There's really no purpose. Does that make any sense? It's the same way as the Joker. He just does because he does.
Well, yeah, because he's the Batman if he was Joker. Like,
exactly.
Yeah.
So the way the comic starts out is the Batman Who Laughs is rolling around, showing up, and the Joker rolls up in the Batcave and shoots himself and infects our Batman with the toxin that made the Batman Who Laughs in the first place. And the way it progresses on is he's using other Batmen from other universes to kill other Batmen in other universes. And here's where it really like hits a cerebral tone for me, because it touches on everything we've been talking about Batman pretty recently, about how there's a huge saturation of Batman, and it's always the same dude. You know, he doesn't really change, and anytime he's been given a chance to change or greatly advertised that he's gonna change, he's not changed.
Yep.
And Snyder, he towards the end of the book, there's this whole thing, but like throughout, where the Batman Who Laughs is telling our Bruce that he is the worst Batman across the entire multiverse, dark multiverse, all of it. He's the worst Batman ever. And he's straight up, like, at the end of the series, Batman's been wearing a similar visor that the Batman Who Laughs wears, so he's been seeing all the Bruces throughout, and he's like, yeah, he's right. There are so many Batmen, some of them have even abandoned the mantle of Batman, have become more influential and better and ultimately happier, which I think is kind of...
I just remembered Bryce Wayne.
Oh my God, Bryce Wayne.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Continue. I'm sorry. Not me.
Bryce Wayne was...
No, but Bryce Wayne was so good.
All right. But he sets this tone where Bruce comes full circle with this realization where he's, I am the worst Batman. And I think Snyder, honestly, is the Batman writer that we need, because he's thematically attacking and challenging the status quo that is Batman. And that's, I think, why Batman Who Laughs was so iconic and such a virus. And that's why you kept hearing it at Friday Night Magic. Oh, Batman Who Laughs in a movie. Like, but if I'm gonna break him down to fundamentals, he's basically Batman Boy Prime. If that makes any sense. He's
Okay.
Am I wrong? Am I wrong?
Wrong.
That's okay. Okay, and for anyone who doesn't know, there's this comic called Infinite Crisis where Superboy Prime is like the OG crazy fanboy version of Superman. And he thinks he's the best version of Superman in every way possible, even though he's an immature little brat. So, wow, Travis, wow. Oh, wow, that like shook me for a ride there. Wow, that just knocked me.
He's already had
the
his
head.
own event, and then in this one, he straight up is just like, I'm killing all of you because you're the happiest, and I'm gonna make this place really suck because you really suck.
The crazy part about it that's been bugging the crap out of me ever since the Batman Who Laughs like miniseries has begun. Actually, no, ever since he showed up in Immortal Men, like that was when I was like, okay, you're basically trying to be Joker from The Death of the Family by Snyder, where you're trying to like eliminate the board, that way Batman's the only one left again. And I get it. I really do, Snyder. And the thing is, I agree with you in some ways that if there was just a pocket dimension where Batman was just Batman and sidekicks could just be in the main canon and to be fine, and people could just read Batman stories, I think some people would be very happy. But this idea that we need to eliminate all of the sidekicks like Dan DiDio's doing, we need like to not do that because they're so intrinsically tied to the characters. I think this idea that both the mainline Joker tried and now the Batman Who Laughs is trying to just eliminate every possible thing in Bruce's way so he can be the best Batman is, and I have to swallow my pride here for a second. I have to swallow my pride. All this hurts. Tom King was right. Oh, that hurt. Ow. Batman deserves to be happy. And, like, he deserves to actually, like, have a family. So, the idea of trying to just clear the board and start fresh with Batman every time we get bored of him is kind of annoying. If that makes sense. It's kind of like the same issue with reboots, where it's like or my concern with, this whole metal Batman thing we have going on where we're just leading to a reboot. I feel like we need to just find a new way to tell stories, not just reboot when we think we're bored.
Okay, I agree with you on that
Probably
one.
hurt Travis to the very core of his being.
Yeah, with that whole Tom King was right thing.
That hurt my soul because the thing is, like, and Travis, you know I'm right from the extent up to 50. You know, up to issue 50.
After 50, you're off the rails.
Yeah, no,
did
like,
not deliver
no.
him happiness.
I'm putting the nail in the road at issue 50 of Tom King's Batman, or like not even 50, 49, and the second annual that he wrote, where you see Bruce and Selina grow old together. That's where I like to think Tom King was right. Because the idea of seeing those two have a life together, hell, in almost every Earth 2 story we've ever heard of Bruce and Selina having a child and carrying on the legacy, that makes sense to me. So to see us constantly, hell, when Damian was born, that's another reason why I don't like him. It kind of like stabbed the idea of Bruce and Selina being together like in the foot. It's frustrating to me that we kind of have to keep saying Batman can't be happy, and it's frustrating.
Which is where I think the Superboy Prime analogy kind of comes in, because in the Batman Who Laughs, he's killing all of these Bruces when they're at their happiest.
Yep.
And we don't know what that looks like. So we see like 6 to 8 different versions of Bruce at his happiest.
Mm-hmm.
And it really feels like Snyder has become almost like the voice of the people, but in a really cynical, almost just obtuse manner that the Joker is just so good at, if that makes any sense. Like, oh, hey, here he is. He's so happy. He's dead. He's gone. You can't see him anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because that's what we've been getting out of Batman. And I don't know. I feel like Scott Snyder is kind of like I said, the voice of the people, and also the voice of the neck-bearded Batman tryhards like myself.
Okay. So there was the other Batman book that came out this past week that Snyder wrote. That, oh my god, it was so good. The Last Night on Earth, which is not like I remember when Snyder and Capullo teased this at a con a couple years back that they were going to write one last Batman story. And I kind of knew when they had mentioned it what it was going to be. Like, you're probably going to throw him at like the end of the road, aren't you? And it is exactly what they did. And we're on issue 2, and it's so good. Mary, have you read this book?
I would like to reference my previous statement of you should see my stack of unread books.
But like, you owe it to yourself to put this one on top.
Like, there's kick-ass Wonder Woman moments. Like, yeah, she bald, but like, it's so good. Okay, no, she has a mohawk. It's not that she's fully bald. She has a mohawk. But, like, it's...
I'm only current on, like, 5 books.
I just, like, it... This book, like, the best way I can describe this book, it's like Old Man Logan, but, like, with a current Bruce Wayne. And it's, like it's almost like someone dropped Bruce Wayne from the current gen into an Old Man Logan version of the DC Universe. And it is so good. And
in that case, they should have just called it Old Man Batman.
Well, he's not old, but he is old. Like, it's weird.
He's a clone of the original Batman in a post-apocalyptic world. And, like, he wakes up and Alfred's trying to tell him that everything's okay, but he's in like a virtual world, and he breaks out and crawls his way out of jail to find the world at its end, and then he has to carry around Joker's head in a jar like it's Futurama. And it's the funniest freaking thing. And Joker's like, "Hey Bruce, can I be the new Robin since the rest of them are dead?" And I'm just like,
"Yeah,
really."
I'm really happy you brought that part up, because that was my next point with Last Man on Earth and Scott Snyder. Is that right after that, Joker's just like, "Bruce, we have to evolve or we're gonna die."
Yeah, that's true. That's very true, because like a good chunk of the second issue is Joker being the one to narrate, and you can tell that like Scott Snyder is trying to be Joker, because that's pretty much what all of his Batman run was, of him being the Joker, trying to like, because you could see it in Death of the Family, of him trying to say, "Hey, remember the pre-New 52? Remember that was a thing? Hey, we're not all crazy, that's a thing." And then it's like, "Hey, Batman, I'm immortal. Since I can't go back, I'll just be forever." And I'm like, oh, this is good.
Is it as cute as Starro in a Robin costume?
No, it's just though Jarro is my heart and I love him, but like, because like if you're not reading Scott Snyder's Scott Snyder and James Tynion's Justice League, like there was a piece of Starro that was cut off, and it regrew into a small baby Starro, and he calls Batman Dad, and he wants to be a Robin to the point that he made his own little suit, and it's the cutest freaking thing, and I love it. But
on it, Dad.
Like that was the best thing ever. But it's funny seeing Joker just be like, "Come on, Bruce, I want to be the new Robin." And then Batman goes, "I would let this horse be the new Robin before I'd let you be Robin." And then the horse dies, and it's like, oh, he's the most tragic of all.
It's okay, maybe you've convinced me. I'll read. I'll move it to the top of the stack.
Well, and like there's this whole thing where like the last of the female heroes become the new Amazons with Wonder Woman, as they like guard the last of humanity, and then Wonder Woman takes them all to the River Styx because the world's ending. So because Hades and the rest of the gods have decreed that the last of the humans can stay there in like refuge, but then Wonder Woman comes back for Bruce so they can like end everything. And Snyder, I hate you because I hate you, but I love you, because you have tried so hard to make Dick Grayson a member of the Court of Owls, and you finally got your wish, and I hate it.
It had to be at the end of the world too. Imagine that.
Like, he tried so hard, and it's frustrating. Like, now granted, I don't care. I think it's funny that like you're trying to say the Graysons have been around Gotham so long that he's a Court of the Owl, but it's like, did you really need to put it in this book? But I love it. I really think you should read this. Like, not like if only for badass Mohawk Wonder Woman. Like that alone, and it is just great.
Yeah.
So yeah. But from there, we have our next topic, which is what I was busting on Mary for at the beginning of the show is that she forgot to put in the agenda the thing that she freaked out about during the middle of the week was that it was announced that Runaways during season 3 is going to be having a crossover with Freeform / used to be ABC Family's Cloak and Dagger, which yay, because that actually happened in the comics. Go.
I mean, first of all, screw you. I was thinking about food when I was putting together the outline. Hey, girls gotta eat.
You right. I had pizza before the show.
But coming into Ray, I think we kind of we as obviously Runaways fans, we kind of figured it was coming.
Yeah, I kind of figured, yeah.
But since the big question is that since Runaways is on Hulu and it's on network television, but on cable TV. So we were a little worried about, how they were going to do this. Like, yes, Disney does own, I think they own a majority share of Hulu at this point.
I think they just own it outright because it's connected to ABC, isn't it?
No.
I think it is.
I don't know anymore.
Well, I think they do because, like, for a long time, Toon Disney's JetX block was on ABC Family, so yeah, I think they do. But
kind of moving. It's moving them cross-platform, if you will.
Yeah.
I think we all knew it was coming, but I don't think we actually wanted to believe it. But earlier in the week, they announced it on the Runaways Twitter, because it was the cast made the announcement on Runaways Twitter, and then the camera pulls back, and there are the actors who play Tyrone and Tandy. Personally, I am over the moon excited about this.
Same.
Like James mentioned, it does happen in the comics where the police contact Cloak and Dagger to help hunt down the Runaways.
Mm-hmm.
But then plot stuff happens, yada yada.
Mm-hmm. Now, my concern with it is it's gonna be like a quick little Iron Fist and Luke Cage moment, like for one episode, or are we gonna get like multiple episodes of Cloak and Dagger together with the Runaways?
What they said in the announcement video is that season 3 will feature a crossover episode, so I'm thinking it's a singular episode.
Darn.
2 of Cloak and Dagger ends with them on a bus going to a location where they found the body, where the bodies of young women have been washing up on shore. Obviously, a huge indication to the Runaways, where in season 1, Destiny Rodriguez's body washes up on shore.
Mm-hmm.
I'm expecting it to be early-ish in the season. We don't know, considering the way Runaways season 2 ended.
And Travis is over in the corner like, I don't watch Runaways.
I just talked about Batman. I'm gonna shut up. Hold up.
If there is any Marvel franchise if there are any Marvel franchises I stan, if you will allow the use of that term, the hardest are New Mutants and Runaways. Like, those are my domain.
And we're getting a New Mutants book, and I'm super excited about it.
I am also excited about it. Karma's gonna die because
we don't know that. Hickman will protect her.
She's my favorite mutant, of course. Favorite mutant, of course she will. I mean, she's managed to skate by for a while, but...
Well, that leads into our next topic, but I will say that as a person who grew up reading the original Brian K. Vaughan run of Runaways and then seeing the crossover happen in the comics later on, I am excited for this, but at the same time, my biggest concern moving forward with things like Disney Plus and Hulu and stuff like that is that I'm worried about the separation. And there's the whole rumor going around that anyway that these two shows are in their own little pocket universe. They don't have anything to do with the MCU.
I don't expect either show to be around for much longer.
Okay, well then at least we got their little crossover over and done with.
I mean, as much as I absolutely hate to say that because I love the Runaways show, like it is so different from the comics, but at the same time the characters are done so well.
Yeah, that's true.
I feel like with the rise of Disney Plus and the cancellation of Agents of Shield, days for and Cloak and Dagger are numbered.
I mean, the one way you could possibly like recover this is if you just flat out like fix the canon and say Molly's a mutant, that's why she has powers, and we go over to the X-Men. That's the one way they could fix this, but I know they won't do it.
Magical rocks or something. I don't know.
That's the one way you could fix it, but I know they won't do it, so it's fine.
I will be very surprised if Runaways ends up with a fourth season. I'm just gonna say that, and it physically hurts me to say that, but
Same.
I will genuinely be surprised.
It hurts our souls. So like, don't think we want to see this fail. Like, we want to see it work, but we like it hurts us to admit that. Okay, so like, let's go into like since we started talking about mutants, let's get into our main topic of the evening, which is so the past few weeks have been very interesting in the world of the X-Men. So, if for those who don't remember the last episode of the show, we had our San Diego Comic-Con coverage. I had admitted that I was like hesitant. I think we had admitted a couple times, like in multiple episodes, that I wasn't really thrilled about the idea of the X-Men being soft rebooted, as it were. Like, even though I am loyal to my Lord and Savior Jonathan Hickman for everything that he has given me, I am loyal. I was very nervous as to what was going to happen with the X-Men. And then House of X #1 comes out. And like I made the joke last episode of I'm like walking out the door and like I'm like, bye everybody, you ruined the X-Men. And then like Father Hickman comes and saves me. He goes, come back, my child. Like, that's what House of X is him just going, don't worry, I got this. And I had said it on Twitter too. I was like, y'all not ready for this book because it's just gonna hurt your brain, and it's gonna hurt your brain even more when you read Powers of X. So, what am I talking about? So we go into House of X #1, and we know that the timeline's been rewritten. The X-Men have only been around for 10 years, apparently. That Xavier in that 10 years has molded Krakoa, the living island, into this like plant network thing across the entire planet, and is using it not only as a source of travel, as a source of safe haven for the mutants, but also as a way to create these plants that cure like any disease and like any way, like any ailment in the world, increases lifespans and shit. And it's just boom. There's so much that happens in issue 1 alone. It's mind-boggling. And Mary, I've been dying to get your opinion, because the only thing you really said about the book was like how you were frustrated with the price. So I really want to know what you think about this book, because like I'm already in the corner on my knees worshiping Hickman. I want to know what you think about this book.
Truth be told, I have never been tremendously fond of Hickman.
Okay.
What kind of turned me around to him a little bit is that I do genuinely love his Image book, Black Monday Murders. Because of Black Monday Murders, I tried to go into this with an open mind. And, you know, Hickman's style is very much give fragmented information, and then you find out, okay, he was leading to this big thing all along.
Yeah.
But the information is typically in very small fragments and, quite frankly, sort of disorganized. I do maintain that I'm frustrated with the cover price, but that's not necessarily his fault.
Yeah, that's more of a Marvel thing than a him thing.
Required reading the info pages in all of his books can get a little frustrating sometimes because I feel like it throws off the pace.
Yeah, it does. Like, that's one of the bigger criticisms, like, that he started doing, like, towards the end of Fantastic Four, where they're just info dump pages, and it's frustrating when you're trying to, like, really be immersed in everything, because, like, I love being confused in a Hickman story, but when he has to, like, explain it for other people, I'm like, okay, Okay, let's get back to the cool shit. But I'm like, I get it.
He does it in Black Monday Murders too, but unfortunately the information is arranged in such a way that you can't go back and read it when you're done with the issue, because there are things that will make it make better sense. So that's my personal frustration with it, is that I feel like it throws off issue pacing.
Okay.
I was a big fan of Genosha as a concept. The reflections of that in Krakoa, and potential to have something really cool here, but still withholding final judgment. Because, I mean, we have, what, a good 8 issues left in these 2 series.
Yep.
No, I'm used to Marvel dragging Claremont in to fix the X-Men.
Yeah.
But having Hickman come in and completely rework everything, it's sort of a DC move on Marvel's part.
Now, why do you say that?
Because Marvel doesn't typically engage in these soft/hard reboot relaunches. Well, I mean, they engage in the relaunches, but it's usually just like a direct continuation of the last story, just with 14,000 more variants.
Mm-hmm. Preach.
We are seeing the X-Men canon completely reconstructed. That's the point I'm making, where it's kind of a DC move. Because, they're constantly switching their canon around, and that's honestly what can get sort of frustrating.
And I agree with you, but like I think what made this hard for me to I didn't even put the review out that I had planned on doing for this book, because it's not very new reader friendly, if that makes sense, where like
Absolutely is not.
You're so used to like the X-Men being a certain way, and then if you walk into this event and you're just like, oh, this isn't the X-Men that I knew, or like I'd seen on TV or anything or in movies, and it's gonna like fry your brain before you get across the first like wavelength. So and also the entire first half, like every issue of this book is like so spoiler heavy, because there's so much like background and dissection that need to be done, that like you could spend days trying to explain everything that goes on here. Like, apparently Magneto and Charles never beefed, or we don't know if they ever beefed in this new canon. Like, Magneto just believes in Charles's vision, and I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Like, Wolverine apparently is okay with like mutants taking over as the dominant species, and I'm like, that is not a Logan thing to be okay with, but okay. Like, he's just playing with children in the back of the first issue, and I'm just like, Logan, what are you doing? This isn't a you thing, bro. Like, yeah, kids are your thing, but like, you being okay with all this is not a you thing.
That's what happens when Professor X is strutting his stuff all day. That's all I've been seeing in these issues.
Interrupt for a minute.
What?
Oh. Walked in and she got me both Batwoman covers for the TV Guide and the Entertainment Weekly.
Nice.
It was exciting. Shut up, I had to interrupt because thank you, I love you.
Oh, that's great. Good job, Victoria.
It was exciting. She walked in and handed them to me.
That's great.
Travis, I'm very sorry I interrupted you.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
Travis, what were you saying?
I was saying, I'm not an X-Men reader, as you guys know, so I don't know, maybe towards the end, maybe halfway through of Powers of X right now, but in House of X, and in the beginning of Powers, every time I see Professor Xavier, he is just, I don't know, like, I hear the song Staying Alive, or at least the instrumentals
He's very much like rocking that strut on the runway, as it were, through this entire thing.
Yeah, like, you ain't seen me on my feet in years, and if I'm on my feet, mutant kind's on its feet. And
Legit, though!
For this whole book.
And, like, he has this almost in, like, and this is so ironic because they said Vulcan's back on Earth in this book. Like, he has that very much, like, swagger that Vulcan, the other Summers brother that no one likes, like, attitude to him, where he just thinks he's all that in a bag of chips. And that's not a very Charles Xavier thing to do. So we're just kind of saying that the new body Charles got towards the end of the last few X-Men runs isn't a thing anymore. He's just Charles again, and he can walk. He never got crippled, and like everything's the way it is or how it should be. And I'm just like, okay, but like, so like, are we just gonna say that all this stuff's going on, but Storm's still in like hangs out in Wakanda sometimes, and like Wolverine's had 1,000,001 adventures. Like this goes into what Mary was saying with like how when you try to New 52 it up or just DC reboot it up in general, where there's so many unanswered questions now of what's gonna happen with the canon now, and I'm worried. Now, granted, I love the House of X as a whole, though, because there's the one moment where Scott Snyder's finally not Scott Snyder, Jesus,
Snyder is an X-Man.
Scott Summers finally grows a pair, as it were. He shows up to gather the Brotherhood of Evil who are working for Charles and all of them to steal some data. And Hickman has his obligatory Fantastic Four cameo, thank God. And Scott Summers walks out the portal with his swag on 250 because the Fantastic Four capture Sabretooth. And he's like, hey, what's up, guys? You captured Victor for me. Thanks. I'll be taking him now. And they're like, I don't know if we can do that. And he goes, come on now, y'all some smart people. Let's not do this. Let's not fight. Just give me Creed and we can go on our business. And Invisible Woman cops up and says, like, Scott, are you sure you're okay with like everything Xavier's doing? Like, you're kind of like trying to take over the planet and like make every country in the world bow down to mutant kind. Are you really cool with this? And Scott Summers summons every fiber of his being, and it almost feels like a line that current Cyclops would say, almost like Bendis' Cyclops of Cyclops is right, hashtag, like would say,
yes,
of my family has spent our entire lives being hunted and hated. Like the world has told me that I was less when I knew I was more. Did you honestly think that we were going to sit around forever and just take it? And that is the most like black man empowerment line like that Scott Summers could have uttered there, or like just any like impoverished people. And also it goes back to the roots of what the X-Men are, which is like a metaphor for discriminated people. So it has me excited for the future, but I'm still just like ticking off all my boxes of what's canon, what's not canon, what's canon, what's not canon. Like wondering, what do we do now? Because like Jean's in her Marvel Girl costume, Scott has like 5 costumes in one, Wolverine's in his brown and yellow still because of Uncanny from Ed Brisson and whatnot, and Matthew Rosenberg. And I'm just like, what's canon, y'all? Like Magneto's back in white, of all things. I'm so confused. Freaking Banshee's not like a zombie anymore. Because you see him in the background for like 2 seconds. But no.
Okay, so
go ahead.
So now I have way too much to say.
No, go for it. Go for it.
I think the first point that I want to make with this whole Hickman thing is that no matter how he does it, there will be fans who walk away pissed off.
Yeah.
Tries to take X-Men all the way back to the beginning, which kind of seems like what he wants to do, at least in House of X.
Yeah. That's a very good point.
You know, there's a lot of progress both on and off the page that has been made that he's essentially flushing down the toilet. A lot of characters that have been created that he in a sense could be flushing down the toilet. So you're going to have a lot of younger-ish, newer X fans who are going to be walking into this going, this. But at the same time, if he leans too...
Oh,
For the older runs,
you cut out a little bit there.
What I was saying is that if he leans too much towards the newer X universe, if you will, favor the old one, and I'm talking like, early X-Men through to like the beginning of Uncanny X-Men.
Okay.
Who are just going to kind of throw up their hands and go, this isn't what I remember when I was a kid.
That's fair.
No matter how he does it, there are going to be a lot of people who walk away from this whole thing really angry.
Yeah.
I think that's why maybe it's just kind of him throwing his hands up, doing whatever.
Yeah.
Like I mentioned before, whenever the X-Men have needed to be fixed or brought back on track, they always bring in Claremont. And Claremont has always leaned forward in terms of, the characters and progress, etc. I wanted to say.
That is a very good point, because, like, it definitely has vibes of, like, it reminds me of, and we're going to go back to Metal now, of Dark Knight's Metal, and for DC, where up until a certain point, we didn't know what was canon in the DC Rebirth era of comics, and then Dark Knight's Metal just comes in and flat out makes a joke of Aquaman's hook hand, and I just go, wait a minute, that's canon? And then I go to a convention and I raise my hand and I'm like, okay, so you just said Aquaman's hook hand is canon. What else is canon? And Snyder just shrugs at me and I'm just like, wait a minute, hold up, that's not okay. Like that's what this comic feels like, and it's going to be this thing that is going to separate the audience almost like a New 52 type of schism. And it's going to be very scary to see what the fallout is. Now, granted, there are a lot of older fans that I've seen online who are excited about the comics that are the fallout of House of X and Powers of X, but I don't know if we're going to get to those books before people are, like, throwing up their hands.
Yeah. And that's kind of the point I'm trying to make, because if you look at these lineups and if you look at these books, I worked in the retail side for a long time, and I can usually, I like to think I have a pretty decent judge of what's going to sell and what's not going to. Half of those books are already probably not even going to make it to Maxi.
Oh yeah, we had talked about that last episode where we were making like predictions, and like I already said a couple of them. Like as much as I love Brian Edward Hill, his book isn't gonna last long. Like and it breaks my heart.
At the same time, I know a lot of people who aren't fans of the Scott Jean thing. And, the main X book is just the Summers family and Wolverine.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. There was so much shade on the internet about that last issue of Age of X.
Emma Frost just... I think leading into this, Rosenberg's X-Men, let's just be honest here, I think he just kind of killed whoever he wanted to.
I don't understand why, though.
Placeholder, and I think maybe like one last hurrah.
I guess, but it seems so weird for him to just go, "You're dead, you're dead, you're dead, you're dead." Like, why not just tell one solid like X-Men story before you go, kind of thing? I don't get it.
He didn't kill Karma, so it's a win in my book.
Well, hey, at least Wolfsbane is back from the dead, apparently.
Yeah, that was an issue we don't talk about.
Mm-hmm.
Poorly written issue. So, like, that's the first point I'm wanting to make, is that no matter how Hickman does this, somebody's going to be pissed off. And I know that can be said for any comic, but I think especially with a franchise as polarizing as the X-Men.
Yeah. And then we move into Powers of X, where Hickman has this problem where he likes to throw the future element so far out that it almost makes you not want to even read what's going on in the present, because it's like, we already know what's going to happen. Like, unless they change it, we already know, so what's the freaking point? Like, that was a lot of people's criticism of his Fantastic Four run, where you see Valeria and Franklin, the Richards kids, in the future, and like they already know what happens. So to see what happens in Powers of X, where apparently humans or other mutants combined mutant genes until they had these chimera mutants of like different people's genetics into new like creatures, and like then they start killing off the chimera when they're not useful anymore, and they're trying to like salvage the last of mutant DNA almost like they're going extinct, and I'm just like, this is not what I thought this was going to be. And like the fan favorite, I can tell you right now, like the internet probably like has already like cleared the check. Rasputin, who is the combination, if I'm correct, she's the combination of both Rasputin children, Pete Colossus and Magic, X-23, Kitty Pryde. There's one other, right? One other.
I wrote it in the outline.
Did you? Oh.
Yes, I did.
Gunther Bane and Quentin Quire. Like, that combination alone has me just
Bane.
like... oh, wait. Yeah, I said Gunther Bane. And I'm like, that combination alone is like... And it breaks my heart to call something Hickman wrote this specifically. It sounds like a fanfic, like to a T, of like someone tried to mash a bunch of mutants together to make a new concept, like the Mr. Sinister, which ironically Mr. Sinister helped create these. And I'm just like, why? Like, why create this like amalgamation? You know?
Well, I think the why is the point. That, you know, always trying to tinker with mutant genetics. And if you had a chance to tinker with mutant genetics and wanted to be able to use those to your advantage, why would you not create the super mutant? Fallout references, you know, aside.
Yeah. I don't know. I just like... Now, granted, I forget the Nightcrawler dude's name, because, like, Rasputin kept calling him priest, and it was annoying. Because like they were making a Catholic joke, but like he kind of has me excited. But I hope my biggest fears of these two is if they survive the event, they're probably going to supplant A, Nightcrawler, and B, at least X-23 and Magic. In the case of Rasputin, because we know Quentin Quire is going places, we know Magic is going back to the New Mutants, but I'm worried that Rasputin is going to become the new fan favorite over people like X-23 and like Gabby and stuff like that, who ironically is nowhere to be seen in these two issues. Gabby is nowhere to be seen, so Mary and I's prediction might have been right, that Gabby is gone. And it breaks my heart.
Never mind.
No, what were you gonna say?
It's fine, never mind.
Okay. But no,
I would be going back on the conversation because you cut off my second point.
Oh. No, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut off your point. Go back.
No, it's fine. We should probably keep going.
Okay. So, like, the time... Well, Mary, what do you think about the actual, like, Chimera concept in general with the book, though?
Once the plot and motivation are fully revealed, it's going to make more sense.
Okay.
They've been they, as in terms of just X-Men creators in general, concept of the mutants going extinct for a very long time. And could be a knee-jerk reaction to try and preserve mutant kind. It could be a chance to try and create weapons to help defend them. It can be any number of things.
Yeah.
It could be another way to, because the original second point I was going to make is pulling the X characters and the X-Men essentially out of the rest of Marvel continuity, and this could serve as a way to further extend that.
Yeah.
Because it kind of links back to your what is canon anymore. Well, universe seems to be completely unchanged by all of this.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to see further removed from what's going on in the rest of the Marvel universe. And I think this could potentially be setting up a new future for the X-Men completely unchained from the rest of the Marvel Universe.
I don't know how I feel about that.
Marvel's been pushing the X-Men to the side for a very long time now.
But what's crazy is, like, this was supposed to be their way of, like, rejuvenating the X-Men. So I don't know how we're going to achieve that goal here. Like, are we just going to, like, force the X-Men back into the primary species? Because, like, I thought that's what we had already done with Gold and Blue and trying to put the X-Men back in the forefront, and then, like, we canceled those books and brought in X-Men Disassembled, and then that failed. Like, what are they trying to do?
To recapture something they screwed up a long time ago.
Okay.
I mean, if I'm going to be completely blunt about the situation, is that Marvel pretty much screwed up with the X-Men to God, probably when they ended Uncanny for the first, like, officially ended Uncanny.
When did Uncanny end?
2011, I think. 2010, 2011. It was like Uncanny 540 something, I think. That's kind of when it started to go off the rails a little bit. I mean, it saw an uptick for a while with the further play out of Astonishing through, I think Marjorie Leo ended the book. But it was kind of then that, you know, the movie crap started happening, where, you know, well, we're not going to publish these things because we don't own them, yada yada.
Yeah.
Where that really started to affect the comics, and then we got whatever the X-Men was now. So I think they're trying to backtrack and add as much as they can. Gold, blue, red, turquoise, silver, magenta. Trying, like, okay, the X-Men are back.
And then no one read them. And so that's why they tried again. And then it failed. And then they're like, hey, man.
Like, I want to be positive, but at the same time, we don't know how long this is going to last because they can't seem to find their footing with the X-Men. Which is why I keep joking about, you know, oh, they'll have to bring Claremont back in a couple years to fix it.
I mean, I don't know if Claremont has it in him to fix anything anymore.
I don't know if he wants to.
There's that. Mm-hmm. Like, and the thing is, I think I figured it out. And this is a reach. I think the X-Men hit their climax not when Uncanny ended. I think Bendis wrote X-Men Swan Song with AVX. And that's hard for me to say because I enjoy the Cyclops' run, but I also hate the Time Displays X-Men. I think that the era of, like, the Hope Summers arc was, like, the Swan Song, and then all the movie crap started to happen, and, like, everything started going downhill more and more until it just stopped being a thing. Because, like, if you remember, there was that one, like, time travel event right when the Time Displays X-Men got there that was right around when Days of Future Past happened. And then a couple more years go by, and Apocalypse Wars happened, which, oh my god, Apocalypse War. Ugh. Like, that Apocalypse War is where I stopped reading for a little bit, and then Inhumans versus X-Men happened, and I was like, ugh. Like, it's just, I agree with you that that Marvel pushed the X-Men so far away that they're like I can't make that joke. Like, the X-Men are like the child that ran away from home to start a new life because the parents pushed him away, and then the Marvel's like, come back.
So they're the Runaways.
Yeah.
Chang, they're the Runaways.
Yeah. It's like my hope is that Hickman can fix this, but I don't know if he can. Like, as much as I love the first issue of this, and as much as Powers of X gave me a migraine, but I love the migraine. Like, I don't know if he has it in him to fix this. As much as I loved how good this went. Like, this might just be the return of the breakup, like, of the relationship that tried to make it work, of Hickman trying to like bring Marvel and the X-Men back together, and then we find out it's not going to work, the relationship just doesn't work, and then we just say, never mind, we're not going to do this anymore. Like, does that make sense? Do I sound stupid?
Similar position that you are, where I'm going to enjoy it for what it is. But like I said earlier in the conversation, I'm kind of withholding final judgment just because this could all be Kitty Pryde's dream. We don't know.
Oh,
They're gonna
God.
Dallas this. Was that Dallas? I don't remember. But I think, and I'm not saying anything about Hickman's ability as a writer here. I'm saying that I think the situation might just be so messed up that it is beyond his reach. That, you know, kind of like, I'm afraid that it's a building fire that he's trying to put out with a bucket, is what I'm afraid of.
Yeah. Well, Travis, you've been over in your corner probably reading Powers of X. How are you feeling about all this?
Yeah, you're correct. I just finished Powers of X.
Do you need a cigarette after that?
No.
My rambling is a good thing.
It was pretty good, honestly, and like, so I guess I can have the perspective of someone who is not familiar with current X-Men publications or canon or anything. I think the last thing I know is the theme song from the old 90s cartoon. And the noise that Colossus made when he did his special in the arcade game. But from my perspective, these two issues seem to be captivating for me. I enjoyed these a lot. I admit there's a lot of stuff where I'm like, who are you? Who are you? What is that? You know, but I think that's a lot of what's keeping me in, is because the things I do know are doing really big things. Like when you see just Magneto flexing on all of the different delegates.
Yes, that was wonderful.
Oh my god, it was so good. This is not a request. This is gonna happen, and you're either gonna take our life-extending drugs or you're just gonna die off. I don't care. Like that's the tone I got from Magneto's exchange with all those people, and it really feels like one big reboot of, yeah, Scott was right, and we're tired of everyone just telling us that, and we're gonna show you.
Yeah.
See, that's a really good point.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm glad that you were to get that perspective on that, because like I think Mary and I are like over in the corner playing with the action figures, and I looked over like, wait, Travis is probably super confused.
See, I'm kind of getting like my emergency preparedness bag ready. Like, look, I've been hurt before. I'm gonna get hurt again.
Like, I didn't want to make that joke, but it's like it legit feels like we're just in that relationship that's heading south, and I don't want it to happen, and it's scary. So I'm gonna stay in Mary's camp of like I want this to work, but I'm scared. That's where I'm gonna leave that. So. We're going to go ahead and wrap up this episode with our recommendations for the week. Mary, we all know what your recommendation is going to be, so what's your recommendation going to be?
It was Runaways week, so yeah, it's Runaways.
Why is it Runaways?
Why is it Runaways, Mary?
Because Nico Minoru had the best line in any book of the week.
What was that line?
He's been flying around doing some superhero crap behind their back. And Dazzler sends Nico a text message saying, look, is this the West Coast Avengers? Because they need a costume budget. So Nico looks at the picture.
Where'd she go? She cut
And
out.
Carolina. And
You cut out majorly. All I heard was she looks at the picture.
So she looks at the picture is where she cut out real hard.
Oh, yeah. Well, she's looking at the picture and clearly sees it's Carolina because Carolina's a rainbow space alien.
Mm-hmm.
Picture to Carolina, and Carolina's like, oh, that's not me. It's someone who looks like me. And Nico Minoru deadass says, I'd recognize those thighs anywhere.
Oh, shit.
It's kind of like, yes, thank you.
Oh, shit.
It's just like my gay heart couldn't take that line.
That's great.
That's why Runaways was my pick of the week.
Okay.
That in its 5th week, and like nothing's out.
I know, I hate 5th week so much. Like, for anybody who doesn't know, the 5th, like, whenever a month, whenever a month in the year has a 5th week, usually 5th week comics are either annuals, stuff that's over over like amount of books, so like events or anything like that, or just books that didn't have the right date go out. And there was almost nothing this week. Travis, we know what your recommendation for the week is going to be.
Oh yeah. I mean, take your pick of whatever Snyder's publications came out this week of either The Batman Who Laughs #7 or Last Man on Earth, but it's a very, I think, unique critical lens on the state of Batman's canon.
All right.
Say that Scott Snyder is just your pick of the week.
Scott Snyder
yeah,
as a human is your pick of the week.
I almost want Scott Snyder and Tom King to have like a celebrity death match where
Yes! Yes! Okay, so I'm gonna be the wild card at the table, and I'm gonna pick. My recommendation for the week isn't a comic book. My recommendation for the week is going to be a TV show that just premiered in the past few weeks, and also hopefully we can all talk about it next week once you guys catch up. Amazon Prime Video has released, originally was a Wildstorm book, but then the rights were moved over to Dynamite once Wildstorm went to DC. And the comic is called The Boys by Garth Ennis. And I'm a bit of a Garth Ennis whore because I found Garth Ennis while reading Midnighter, and I love him to death. And I had never read this, but this is the rare time where James had watched a comic book show that he had never read the comic book for, but then read the comic book later, like after I had binged all of the show, because the show is only eight episodes, and basically they change a good deal of the comic, but not enough where like it's Arrow bad. They keep a lot of the heart and soul of the original book in the comic, and then they just put it in modern day with like social media and stuff like that. And you watch this show, and it's very therapeutic to see these superhero archetypes, which for all intents and purposes, a lot of them are DC archetypes, because you have like the Superman analog who's like super loyal to the government, you have like the Wonder Woman analog, you have the Flash analog and stuff like that, the Aquaman analog who's like a sexual predator, which is horrible and I hate that, but there's all this stuff going on, and then you have the boys who are just trying to literally kill these superheroes, and it's like put them back in their place for being these horrible individuals, because like superheroes in this universe are like shitty celebrities who take advantage of people. They do drugs. They're all conceited assholes who take advantage of people. And except for like the new girl who has all the ideological things going on, where she wants to be the best superhero and save everybody and yada yada, and then you have the boys who are just wrecking everything right as she gets to the big time. And it's this awesome show. I'm gonna gush about it hopefully more next week once these two catch up, because oh my god, it's so good. Like you haven't lived until you've seen an invisible man have a bomb shoved up his ass. Like, that is some therapeutic shit. Where you just see a superhero get his just desserts for being an asshole. So yeah, that's a thing that happened. But so definitely, like, if you have an Amazon Prime subscription, please check out The Boys. I will say that not only does it not have a trigger warning, because it does address sexual assault in a big bad way. It does it very tastefully. It does it very respectfully, but at the same time, it doesn't have a trigger warning whatsoever, and I think that's a problem. It does have a lot of gore, and I was talking to someone about it. They're like, so it's like Punisher on crack. No, it's not Punisher on crack. It's Watchmen if it wasn't written by a psychopath, if that makes sense. Like it's Watchmen if it was like trying to prove its point with a lot more respect, but it's still gory as all hell. Like, so go in with the expectation that if you're not a big fan of like people exploding, or like blood going everywhere, or basically Superman abandoning a lot of people because he's an asshole, like crap like that, or like like Mr. Fantastic as a televangelist, being actually a closeted gay man, which is the funniest thing on God's green earth. But in general, it's a very good show. I highly recommend it. Hopefully, we can talk about it soon in the show because it's really good. Okay, we are gonna go. So don't forget to check this podcast out on Twitter. I like the podcast out on Twitter at PTP_podcast. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter and Instagram for the website at On Comics Ground. Please, oh please, come back. Not only next Saturday for Panel to Panel, but next Thursday is the premiere. We had our 2 preview episodes the past 2 weeks, but the premiere of the live version of our newest podcast, Blurred Grounds, is next Thursday at 11 Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific. So please come down, watch that. It's going to be amazing. Our first episode is going to be tackling the lack of black solo titles in comic books. So please come around and hang out with us for that. And you can follow that podcast on Twitter and Instagram at Blurred Grounds. Okay. Mary, what is your closing statement for issue 12? 12. Yes, 12.
Issue 212.
212.
Okay, I should always prepare these ahead of time, but I don't know if I have one.
Oh.
To my incessant rambling, I mean, someone has to, I guess.
Okay, Travis, what is your closing statement for issue 12? Travis, why are you muted?
Oh, I forgot. Oh, sorry. My closing statement will be, Scott Snyder, please answer my call of the gods and give me an interview. I would love to talk to you about these comics. Please.
All right. And as always, my closing statement is, A, Mary, we get it, you vape. And B, and B, always
Screw you. I have not had a full cigarette since
I am proud of you.
Tease me all you want.
And I'm proud of you. I wouldn't tease you if I wasn't proud of you. But also, please support your local comic book shop. They are important. They need the support because they need to sell these books to keep the industry alive. So we will catch you folks next time right here at Panel to Panel. Peace out.